So the bear market might have you down and you might be looking to get into stablecoins. Because you want all the thrill of investing in crypto, but you're a coward, like an Air Force drone pilot. I'm just kidding. Stablecoins are a pretty good way to protect yourself against the volatility of the crypto market while maintaining exposure and being able to make movements quickly. So I understand. And today we're going to be talking about BUSD and Paxos, but only because I have to. This is a continuation of my stablecoin series where I'm reviewing almost all stablecoins to decide whether or not they're risky and whether or not you should incorporate them into your portfolio. We're gonna talk about 5 aspects of all these stablecoins: background, stability mechanism, how to get them, how to use them, and risks. So remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you want more of this content. Hit the bell notification, because I'm gonna be talking about algorithmic stablecoins that actually interest me in the very near future. And remember, this isn't really financial advice. I'm just sort of an idiot with a camera and a chair and a green screen, and I lost my second camera, so.
Camera 1, camera 2.
But let's talk about history. Binance and Paxos announced their partnership to create the BUSD stablecoin in 2019, which makes them a relatively new player to the game. And like USDC, they are a fully centralized, collateralized stablecoin that is highly regulatory focused. But what keeps it stable?
I don't know.
Well, exactly what I just said. It's centralized and collateralized. In fact, BUSD is getting monthly attestations, much like USDC, but instead of Graham Norton, they're using the accounting firm Witham, which honestly, I've never heard of either of them, so I don't know how much to trust them. And they're not full audits, they're just attestations, which don't have quite the same legal weight. Means that they're self-reporting all their assets, but BUSD is self-reporting that they're holding almost 100% in cash and short-term T-bills, which is a much better treasury composition than other stable coins, which will remain nameless, if we believe that that's actually what their reserves look like. But how do you get it?
Please, sir.
Well, you can get it on almost all major exchanges. The best way to get it probably is through Binance itself, though. It's not as available as a lot of the other stablecoins, only being present on ETH natively, as well as Binance Smart Chain and Binance Chain, which is like Binance Smart Chain, but dumb as hell. Honestly, you can use BUSD in some of the more conservative DeFi strategies like Aave or Compound, which is going to earn you about 2 to 3% per year.
Impossible.
Which would be my suggestion, but you can also just keep it on Binance if you're uncomfortable with DeFi. I will caution, however, that I think if the last few weeks has proved anything, it's that we ought to get our money out of centralized exchanges. So if you don't have a hardware wallet, go fucking get one. Click the link in the description. Go over to the Trezor store, buy a Trezor Model T. I love it. Keep your money in your own hands and have a little bit of peace of mind, not being exposed to the central counterparty risk that comes along with custodial accounts like Binance. Now, all that said, Binance has shown themselves to be pretty trustworthy. They're hiring in this bear market. They're an exchange rather than a lending protocol, so the risk of insolvency is a little bit lower. So if you have no problem with the central custodian setup, then Binance offers some pretty competitive rates as far as interest is concerned. In fact, you can sign up for their flexible savings account, and right now that's earning around 10% per year. But again, the cost there is that you then have to trust Binance with your money. They are the ones who tell you whether or not you can withdraw it. So like Celsius, they can just stop withdrawals at any moment. And going back to what I said about attestations, we just really have to believe that what they're saying is true.
What?
And why believe it when you can just trust the code of an audited platform like Aave or Compound? You're not going to earn as much per year, but interest compounds. So I would recommend that as a strategy as someone, again, who's not a financial advisor, but just a friend looking out for you. But let's cap this all off with a discussion of risk. Now, I have this broken up into 3 categories. One is regulatory risk, which I perceive as being moderately low. Not as low as USDC, who's actively working with regulators in order to make sure that their stablecoin is compliant, but still not as risky as, say, Tether. Binance has been a little combative with regulators, but Paxos and Binance have shown that there's a willingness for them to work through a lot of these issues, and they will likely comply with global regulation, whether or not they comply with US regulation. Second is depeg risk. So what's the risk that the currency just goes to zero and it's not stable anymore? I see this as also moderately low. I mean, I can't tell you the future. They're attesting to their own financial reserves rather than going through a full financial audit periodically, which gives me a little pause and introduces the fact that we have to trust that what they're saying is true. But I also don't see a huge reason for them to misrepresent these facts. They've been a trustworthy company up until this point, and I know ain't no river too long that doesn't contain a bend, but if I were not an advocate of DeFi, I would feel much better about having my money in BUSD than I would in USDT, if that's even a good bar to set. Lastly, let's talk about centralization risk, which, like in the case of USDC, I see as very high. When you have a stablecoin that is both centralized and collateralized, it means that the custodians of those funds, those member banks where a lot of the deposits are being held, are going to have to comply with either local or global regulations. That means even if they're not doing it now, they may at some point be forced by regulators and authorities to blacklist people's accounts and stop funds transferring between participants.
You need to just stop.
BUSD is going to have all the same surveillance components that USDC has. It's not anonymized. So if you care about your privacy, then BUSD may not be for you. But if you're an Air Force drone pilot, you love the daddy government. As far as my recommendation is concerned, BUSD seems fine.
Okay.
I wouldn't use it, but I'm also okay with the risk that's involved in investing in more experimental decentralized stablecoins like DAI or RAI. DAI you've probably heard of, but RAI is a fascinating experiment, which is actually my favorite stablecoin. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notification because that video is going to be coming out in the next week. I'd encourage you to learn a little bit more about DeFi and learn why it's important that we keep decentralized stable stores of value. But if all you're looking for is someone to tell you, hey, BUSD is probably fine and won't tank, then sure, it's probably fine and probably won't tank. Stay safe out there, soldier.